goodbye to all hard-working station masters. Say goodbye. If you look over to the right-hand side of the train, you'll notice a very tall and large-looking structure off in the distance there. That is known as our Iron Quasi. It is the tallest, the fastest, and most intense hybrid roller coaster in North America. This beast of a coaster will take up to a max height of 206 feet up into the air at the tallest peak. And at the very tip top of the hill, the average has 91 degrees of drop. And you'll speed along this coaster track up to 76 miles per hour with a bunch of up and down rocks and a couple of corkscrews in the middle. This red and blue coaster right above our heads and around us is currently undergoing a movement. She is named after an African hawk that moves that was around and collected prey. Looking over to the right-hand side of the train is our beautiful and colorful city of Panatopia, home to our absolute tallest attraction in the whole entire park, our 300-foot drop tower of Falcon's Fury. And if you're ever feeling hungry on this side of the park, they have the giant wine grill as well as many other different menus. And for those of you that like arcade games and carnival-style games, Panatopia has plenty of those as well. And occasionally they host shows and performances over at the Panatopia Theater during select times of the year. It is our one and only family-friendly steel-inverted roller coaster model very similar to the Poncho, except it doesn't have the U-turn version. This coaster doesn't go upside down. It'll take you up to a max height of 80 feet up in the air at the tallest peak. Our people bottom on the top of the hill. We'll speed along this coaster track up to 46 miles per hour. Looking over to the left-hand side of the train, you'll notice a bunch of colorful gondolas going backwards and forwards, up and down past each other. That is home to our Sky Ride, one of our oldest attractions that we have in the whole entire park, along with our very own train here on the Serengeti Express. And now at this time, folks, our train is now crossing over into our Serengeti belt, where our animals free roam out here in the wide open plains during the day. As a friendly reminder, folks, to please remain seated at all times, keeping all body parts inside the train at all times. And please, folks, refrain from changing seats or changing rows, especially while we're in motion. It is for your safety and the safety of others. Looking over over to the right-hand side of the train, you'll notice another tall-looking attraction with the purple and green patterns and those long-looking arms. That attraction is known as our Serengeti Flyer. It is one of the tallest and fastest thrill rides of its type. It'll swing you backwards and forwards like a pendulum up to a max height of 135 feet up into the air, swinging backwards and forwards up to a speed of 68 miles per hour. This attraction will make you feel like you're flying way up high in the sky with the birds. And ironically enough, it is equally just as fast as some of the coasters in our park. We are currently traveling through the northwest portion of our Serengeti belt, and as you can see, it is pretty quiet out here. A lot of the animals are probably on the opposite side of the belt at the moment. Usually you would see out here the grand zebras. You can also see some of our antelope species, and some of our gazelles, and a few of our rhinos. We also have red-necked ostriches as well as wildebeests. We are now crossing over from the north end of our Serengeti belt into the south end of our belt. Still looking to the left-hand side of the train up on the hill, you'll notice two animals right away. Those large tannish animals with the pointy horns on their heads. Those are eland antelope. You might also notice a zebra up on the hill. That is our Grevy zebra. As we turn the curve, this animal exhibit is home to our Nyala, which is a subspecies of antelope. The Nyala are labeled as sexually dimorphic animals, which means the males and the females are completely different from each other. Male Nyalas are slightly larger in size, have a dark brownish blackish coat, a shaggy beard, and they have horns on their heads. From a distance, they almost appear to look like a wildebeest-like species. Female Nyalas have a light brown coat with a white striping on their bodies, pointy ears, and they do not have any horns on their heads. From a distance, they almost appear to look like deer. Here in our park, we preserve at least one or two of the male Niles, while the rest of them are female. signal from our station master. And we got the 2 blasts on the whistle from our engineer. We are now ready to depart. As we pull out of the Nairobi station, we'll go to your right-hand side and wave goodbye to our hard-working station masters. Everyone say goodbye. Alrighty, folks, if you're looking to the left-hand side of the train, this animal exhibit is home to one of our gazelle species, the Thompson gazelles. And if you're looking to the right-hand side of the train, you might have noticed the exhibit to our African penguins. This green yellow coaster right above our heads in the Monaco is currently closed in service today. Flipping over to the left-hand side of the train, just beyond the Busch is the Grand Road, we enter Africa. It's a 16-meter self-guided tour of our other animals that we have here at Busch Riding Trails today. The edge of Africa is home to our lions, our meerkats, our spotted hyenas, our hippos, our African porcupines, lemurs, and Nile crocodiles. Just beyond the crossing on the right-hand side of the train is this whitish greenish building known as our Serengeti Overlook restaurant. On the menu of the Serengeti Overlook, they serve chicken tenders, roast, fried pizza, and for those of you that are sporting around and doing bar, we can enjoy a nice little beer or a nicely made Serengeti Overlook. As our train continues to south of the eastern side of Park, this next coaster that you see around us is Clover's Curse is a one-of-a-kind lift elevator roller coaster that takes you on a coaster track with an 80-foot statue of venomous snake head. Upon initial drop at the top of the hill, you'll travel around on this track up to a speed of 45 miles per hour, where you'll be treated to a back series of sudden sweeping turns, transitioning through an intense backward section, placing you into a free-spinning finale. Looking over to the right-hand side of the train once more is another one of our big and thrilling roller coasters that we have here at Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay. It is yellow, it is blue, it is the one and only Montu. Montu is named after an Egyptian god of war that is pictured as a man with a falcon's head. The Montu is consistently ranked as one of the top 10 steel-inverted roller coasters in North America. You'll speed along this coaster track up to 65 miles per hour. And you will go upside down in this coaster through 7 different loops and inversions. And now at this time, folks, our train is now crossing over into our Serengeti belt, where our animals free roam out here in the wide open plains during the day. As a friendly reminder, folks, to please remain seated at all times, keeping all body parts inside the train at all times. And please, folks, refrain from changing seats or changing rows, especially while we're in motion. It is for your safety and the safety of others. Also, as a friendly reminder, folks, it is very dark out here on the belt. We ask that, once again, you kindly refrain from using any flash photography gear of any kind. This includes smartphones and photography cameras. You can barely see them, but looking over to the right-hand side of the train is those large, bulky tannish animals with the pointy horns. Those are eland antelope. cultivated giraffes, our Grevy zebras, our Adax antelope, our impala, and some of our redneck ostriches. Officially crossed over from the south end of our Serengeti belt into the northern end of our Serengeti belt. As we continue to travel along, you might be able to catch a few animals out there still in the darkness as we continue along on our journey. I'll even point them out to you if I do see them out there. Across the trestle, looking over to the left-hand side of the train, you can see the vast, wide open spaces of our North Serengeti belt. And as you can see, it's very dark out there. You might see some of the animals still out there. They're a bit far away. It's hard to identify them from where they currently are. I'll go ahead and go through a list of the animals that you usually see out here during normal daylight. Here on the North Belt, our most popular animal that you would see out here is our white rhinos. Another type of animal that is popular on our belt is the grand zebras. We also have another gazelle species. They look identical to the Thompson gazelles back in Nairobi. We have the grand gazelles here on the North Belt as well. One of my favorite animals here on this side of the belt, besides the zebras or the rhinos, it is an antelope species called the sable antelope. It has a light brown coat and it has long pointy curved horns on its head. More redneck ostriches that also roam these wide open fields. We usually have 2 redneck ostriches on the south end of the belt, and we also have 2 more here on the north end of our belt. One thing to note about our redneck ostriches, they usually prefer to travel by themselves, and most of the time they're spread out. Another type of animal you might see, if you look on the left-hand side of the train, you might catch a grayish-looking animal with the shaggy-looking coat and the pointy curved horns, the wildebeests. You might even catch some zebras out here too on the left-hand side. Those are the grand zebras. The grand zebras are labeled as some of the smallest of the zebra species, and they are also labeled as the most popular and most photographed of any kind of zebra species out there in the wild as well. On the right-hand side of the train, before we enter the tunnel up ahead, here's one of our hard-working zookeepers working behind the scenes. That corral that you see is home to where our rhinos are. looking up ahead on the left-hand side of the train is our beautiful, colorful city of Pantolia, home to this blue roller coaster, Phoenix Rising. It is our one and only family-friendly steel-inverted roller coaster, modeled very similarly to Master 2, except it doesn't have any loops or inversions. This coaster doesn't go upside. It'll take you up to a max height of 80 feet up into the air, 50 tall speed, and a fun initial drop at the top of the hill. It'll speed along this coaster drive up to 46 miles per hour. Here you see on the left. This time, most our train is now slowly pulling into our Congo station. We're going to see if we can see it. Until our train comes fully full and completely stop. And I think it will be all clear.